Right, and it's all yours, Sam.
Alrighty, well, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Sam Lopez, and I'm super excited that you're here today to learn more about our fraternities and sororities at Elon University. This is a huge part of our campus community and the environment that we have here on campus. And so, our hope today is to provide a brief overview of what fraternities and sororities are at Elon, give you some time to meet the various different types of organizations we have within our fraternity and sorority life community, and then provide some Q&A time with some students to learn more about getting involved, joining an organization, what their experiences might be like being here at Elon. So I will go ahead and get started, but I would love for our panelists who are here to spend some time introducing themselves. And so I will start with Sarah, and then we'll go Edgar, Trevor, and Will next.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Fritz. I'm a senior at Elon, and I'm here representing the Panhellenic community as the VP of Recruitment.
Hey, I am Edgar Ramirez Luna. I am a fourth year here at Elon studying finance, and I serve as the first president of the Multicultural Greek Council here at Elon.
I'm Trevor. I'm a junior at Elon, and I'm here representing the IFC as the VP of Community and Member Development.
I'm William. I'm here representing the National Pan-Hellenic Council, or NPHC, as its president, and I am a senior here at Elon.
Wonderful. And we also have two staff members here who are going to be available to answer questions in the chat as things pop up. Kayla Hedrick and Anaya Jerkins are both assistant directors within student involvement who work very closely with our fraternities and sororities. And then as a reminder, my name is Dr. Sam Lopez, and I serve as the associate director overseeing our fraternities and sororities here at Elon. So like I mentioned, we're just going to go over what is our community, what we stand for, our values, and then discuss recruitment and how to get involved with recruitment and joining a fraternity and sorority, depending on the various different councils we have available to you all, and then provide some time for some Q&A at the very end. So the basic thing that I would like to start with is that our community is valued on academics, giving back to the community, raising money for community, being responsible leaders on our campus, and really being one of our top leaders that you will find on our campus, creating environments where students all can engage and be a part of our larger community, and being able to hold each other accountable with high standards, values, ethics, and all the things like that. We as an office support this initiative through various programming efforts that you might see through social media. We also have a program called the Standards of Excellence program, which is really a space where our individual organizations can excel in various areas such as programming, brotherhood, sisterhood events, recruitment events, health and wellness, risk management, all of these things. And so for us in our partnership with our national organizations is helping them continue growing and excelling on our campus. And so these core values that you see here are the big emphasis that we really work with our students on, and ensuring that when they join our organizations, this is what they are empowered to be, who they represent themselves within their organizations, and how the organizations show up on our campus as a larger community. So just to give you an overarching breakdown of our community, we do have 31 different chapters in our community. So there's 17 different types of sororities and 14 different types of fraternities within our 4 governing councils. What a governing council is essentially a student body board who oversees the type of organizations that they fall under. And so the 4 students that are here today all represent each council that we have here on campus. And so I'm going to allow them a lot more time to discuss what does it mean to be IFC, MGC, MPHC, Panhellenic, PA, and give those details a little bit more heavily for you all. But essentially, they provide the rules and regulations to how our chapters operate on our campus to ensure that we are upholding the values that I just mentioned, the requirements by the institution, the requirements for their HQs, all of those things. So going into that, something I do want to note is that although we have 31 organizations on campus. On our website, we do highlight the fact that we do have some unrecognized organizations that are affiliated, what I would say, off campus. And so these two organizations listed here, which Trevor will bring them up again during his presentation, technically would have fallen under the Interfraternity Council, but due to conduct, other relation reasons, they are not affiliated with campus. So we as an institution do not recognize them. And so when we start talking about recruitment and all the things of getting involved with our community, we do try to encourage families and guardians to just be aware that these organizations do exist. They are operating off campus without oversight by the university. And so although a student may choose or be interested in joining one of these organizations, it's just important to know that we don't have regulation over them at this time. And so I just want to make sure that we're being transparent about the organizations that do currently exist here. So going into that, our community is close to 2,500 students, which is pretty amazing when you think about the size of impact that we have here at Elon. We make close to 40% of campus, so 39.6%. 24, almost 25% of our members are male identifying students, and then 49% are female identifying students. Our GPAs for our Greeks stay very close to the all student GPA average, which is amazing because we continue to push and excel academics. And so sometimes a concern that might get brought up about joining a fraternity or sorority is how will this impact your grades and academics? But because we emphasize this so much, most of our students either excel the average GPA average or they're maintaining the average GPA that we have here, which is pretty exciting to see holistically when you think about our community. Another benefit for our organizations is if you're a part of a Panhellenic and Interfraternity Council chapter. Currently, there are houses on campus that our students can live in and be a part of that space and building community and being part of that experience. And so close to 19 of our organizations do have a home on our campus and have the ability to live on campus. They're smaller homes that range between maybe 5 to 12 members living in the home. It's typically our new members who join in spring will choose in their sophomore or junior year to come and live in the home in their the fall semester of their new member process. And so just naming that this is just a resource that we have invested here at Elon and a space that our students can get involved with. In addition, I just want to name that we truly do highlight top leaders on our campus. And so Order of Omega is an honorary society that we pick from the top 5% of leaders within the fraternity and sorority community to identify, to represent, to showcase additional professional development opportunities, scholarships, philanthropies, all the things. And so this is just another resource that we provide our fraternities and sororities who are interested in continuing their growth as a leader on our campus. So getting into a little bit broader information about recruitment before I pass it off to our panelists. Each recruitment process looks very different for each council. Some have registration fees, some do not. So what you'll see here is that not everybody has a distinction on their registration fee. IFC, that will be determined in the next few weeks if there will be a registration fee or not. MBHC and MGC typically have their own fees during the application process, but that is not like an upfront registration fee where every person has to pay for it upfront in order to join one of their organizations. And then for Panhellenic recruitment, that we will go into a little bit more detail soon, which is our formal recruitment process that happens in the spring semester. They have a $100 registration fee that covers cost of the operation of the event itself, food, all the things there, but we'll make sure we provide a little bit more details to your potential new members, your students, when they are paying for this fee, where is that money going to? A lot of the questions we do get asked, though, is how much does it cost to join a fraternity and sorority? And in full transparency, it also varies based off the organization. Typically, there is a new member fee, and then there is ongoing dues each semester that takes place as you're an active member of the organization. When we have university assessed fees, so there is a one-time $60 new member fee for all members who join a fraternity and sorority after the new member process, and that typically gets added onto their accounts at the end of a semester leading into the following semester. So if we had new members this fall, they would get the fee at the end of the semester, have to pay by spring semester, so on and so forth. In addition, for those who have Loy homes, so the housing opportunity that I mentioned earlier, they do have a housing fee where all the different members have access to be able to go into the homes. So the $145 fee is for our larger homes that can fit around 12 students. And the $95 fee is for our smaller homes that typically have 5 students living inside the home. However, the chapter itself all have access to the home to be able to utilize it for chapter meetings, programs, and events. As a study space, it's a communal space for the whole chapter to go to. So that fee is tacked on each semester. It also goes towards maintenance and everything that goes into maintaining a home on our campus. So I wanted to be as much possible transparent about our fees and financial commitments in joining a fraternity and sorority. A lot of our organizations do offer scholarship opportunities, payment plans, all of those things, but that is subject based off of the different organizations itself. And so I can't really provide exact detail specific groups right now, but I think if you're looking at specific organizations, we can definitely have a larger discussion at another time. So, to join a fraternity and sorority, our biggest thing is that you have to be a full-time student. You can't be part-time. You have to have completed at least 12 credit hours before being able to be eligible to join a fraternity and sorority. So here at Elon, we typically say that you have to, at minimum, be a second semester first year student to be eligible to join, but you have to have 12 credit hours going into that semester. So if you drop part-time in the fall semester, anything like that, it may make you uneligible to join. So 12 credit hours is a requirement. You must be in good standing when we think about conduct records, right? No disciplinary action happening on your conduct records. So just being in good standing with the institution. And then each council has a specific grade point average requirement or expectation for people when trying to join their organizations. And so those are listed here. And they're really maintained based off of all of our organizations and what the minimum GPA is from all of the orgs. And so if you want to join IFC 2.8, MPHC MGC 2.5, and Panhellenic 2.9. And so again, trying to make sure we are maintaining a positive academic experience for our students and making sure that they're prioritizing their academics prior to joining one of our fraternities and sororities. So with that being said, I'm going to take a moment to pass it off to Trevor to talk about the Interfraternity Council and all the recruitment things within this council.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. So as was mentioned before, so we have 9 member chapters that are recognized by the university. And so me and the fellow IFC executive board kind of make sure that everything's going smoothly and that our council is moving in the direction that we want it to. So I would highly encourage, if your kid or your child does want to go through the recruitment process, do not encourage them to join one of the unrecognized organizations. That is one of the biggest things that I can recommend, as I know my parents would not even let me talk about that. And I'm glad they did, because they put me in the right direction going with an on-campus recognized organization. So our recruitment dates, the registration is December 1st. You can apply and put your application in. I mean, everyone will be able to register between this time, and the actual rush week, recruitment week, is the first. It starts the first Friday of the spring semester.
Awesome. Thank you, Trevor. Now I'm going to pass it off to Edgar to talk about the Multicultural Greek Council.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Edgar once again. The Multicultural Greek Council consists of 4 member chapters. We were recently established in 2024. I'm serving as the first president since January. And right now, the purpose of the MGC is just to promote and raise awareness for multicultural diversity on campus and in the surrounding communities as well. We also want to provide a structure for all members of each organization to feel empowered and have a support system. And that's one of the biggest and main focuses that me and my exec has, tried to establish in this past year. And regarding intake and recruitment, each organization is a little different. Each one has an individualized intake process. And essentially interested students connect and learn more about each organization, and it all depends on each organization. They all have different forms of, you know, intake. I will say that the process in which all this happens and is kind of symbolic to MGC and NPHC is that new members go through a process, and at the end of that said process, they reach a point of probate or new member presentation, which is significant for each event, as these, happen towards the end of the semester, and it's a big, reveal for the whole community as a whole. They tend to highlight the cultural diversity of each organization, and as a whole brings the multicultural Greek community together due with the fact that there's many people on campus and off campus from neighboring colleges and institutions that come and support and show out for the new members.
Thank you, Edgar. All right, I'm gonna pass it to Will to talk about the National Panhellenic Council.
Hello, everyone. I'm William Langford again, president of the NPHC here at Elon. The National Panhellenic Council is made up of currently 8 chapters here, but 9 fraternities and sororities in total, 5 fraternities and 4 sororities, but we have 4 fraternities and 4 sororities here at Elon. The NPHC has been able to continuously maintain a high standard of character and also education, as there are GPA requirements that differ for every single chapter, but it has to be met in order for you to be able to actually be taken in for initiation. Which, going along that, the next slide is about our membership intake. It varies from each fraternity and sorority. My fraternity, you need a minimum of a 2.5 GPA, but some other fraternities may require you to have a 2.75 or even a 2.8. So as taking that into consideration when considering to chase an organization of your choosing, I would also want you to say, like, keep it within keep it within the organization you want to join. Discretion is very, very, very important in terms of NPHC culture. And as Edgar said, towards the end of your intake, there will be a new initiate presentation, or in other words, a probate, where you are celebrated and shown to the student body and the world. And again, other campuses also have these organizations on them, and they will come over and celebrate. So you are seen here at Elon and also across other campuses. So there you're always seen.
Thank you, Will. All righty, now I'm going to pass it off to Sarah to talk about the Panhellenic Association.
Hi. The Panhellenic Association has 10 chapters with an average size of 179 members. We really strive for friendship, leadership, service, service to the community and our nation. Definitely we have a new chapter. One that just joined 2 years ago, which is exciting because we've been expanding. And we definitely strive for you have to be in good standing and have a good GPA before actually registering, so that we make sure your grades are your biggest priority. Our registration is open from December 1st to January 7th. This is a short application. It just asks why you may want to join our community, what values are important to you, just so they know why they would want to go through this recruitment process. And then our actual recruitment takes place during fake break, which is the time between the end of J term and the beginning of the spring semester. And it's a 4-day long process now, technically. It's actually 6 days. But our Friday, there is an orientation. So we have a speaker come in to talk about what her experience is like being part of the Panhellenic community, and kind of just bracing them for the conversations they're going to have, and kind of just trying to take off some of the nerves. You're also going to have group meetings. So you're going to be placed in a group of about 30 other potential new members, which are your students that are applying. And in those groups, they're going to have 2 to 3 people that have been through the process on both sides, yes, the sister side and as the potential new member. And they're going to help them, lead them through the process, make sure they're getting what they need, make sure that they're eating, they're taking care of themselves, and kind of just being a mentor for them throughout this process. And someone that's a steady hand and like a guiding person as they're figuring out where they want to go. Saturday through Tuesday is our formal recruitment. Each day there's a different subject: philanthropy, sisterhood, and each day you're gonna select less and less sororities that you want to return to. And then Wednesday is our bid day, which is basically just celebrating with all of your new sisters and your new, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. And so why is this important? What is your role as parents, as families? I think big thing and how you can support is just continuously communicating with our team and student involvement. We are the main source of a lot of this information, and so we can help be a liaison as you're having questions about deciphering the different information, understanding our deadlines, all of those things. I would say obviously continue being a good supporter to your student and the decision that they're making, and continue asking really good questions for them to help them really decipher what is the best option when joining an organization and why they want to join those organizations long term and what that commitment means. All of those things. I think continuously being familiar with organizations that we have available. And so if your student chats with you about joining a fraternity or sorority, asking them what organizations are they interested in, what are they looking for, and spending some time looking into those organizations yourself so you can have more well-rounded conversations and questions to ask your students so that they feel like they're making the most informed decision when joining one of our organizations. And going back to my first bullet point, that leads to our last bullet point here, is that when you're in doubt, obviously do not hesitate to reach out to our team. We are a fairly large staff. Our office is made up of 8 staff members, and we have 3 dedicated to fraternities and sororities specifically. But everyone on our team is here to support in some capacity and either has been a member of an organization or has worked with our fraternities and sororities in some capacity. So just knowing that we have a lot of experts and knowledge in this space is really helpful in supporting this larger community. I did want to refer to a couple websites for y'all. So there's going to be 2 QR codes that are going to be coming up. The first one is going to go directly to our parent page, which goes over a lot of the information that we just discussed here today and some FAQs that you might have about a student joining a fraternity and sorority. It's also linked to our student involvement page around fraternity and sorority. So if you want to dive in deeper, looking at community reports, meaning like grades, all of those fun things, how to join, what is the Loy Center, all of those tabs are right there for you. And so you should be able to access those things readily accessible from your phone or on a laptop or anything like that. The other piece I wanted to just acknowledge in this space is that I think sometimes concerns around health and safety and awareness of that is important. And that gets brought up when students are interested in joining not just a fraternity and sorority, but other entities on campus. And so I want to acknowledge that Elon University's first priority is the safety and health and well-being of your students. And so we have done a lot of hard work to provide resources and trainings and education on just signs of hazing, how to report, making sure our students understand that that is inappropriate behavior, recognizing from a national level there might be news articles or reports of these things from other campuses. And so Elon has made it a priority to ensure that we're being as transparent as possible about this information. And so I wanted to make sure you had access to this resource as our students are continuously being informed and educated and held accountable as needed if that is something of concern. But I will also name that all of our organizations are non-hazing organizations and that they truly don't value putting students in that place. They want to value uplifting brotherhood, respect, and integrity of our students. So I just wanted to make sure that this resource was available to you and you knew that this website existed. So now we're just going to be shifting into our council panel. And so there's obviously some questions in the chat to allow you all time to hear from our students directly and go from there. And so I'm just going to skip through this so that you have this page right here real quick if you want our contact information of any sort, but I'll make sure to stop sharing my screen so you can see all of our students during this panel. Thank you all again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for providing all of that amazing information. And we do have some questions in the chat. If you do have any others, feel free to add them to the chat. But we'll start with this first one. So can you please talk about business fraternities? Are they on the same recruiting schedule? Are they co-ed, time commitment? And what does that process look like?
Absolutely. So, business fraternities, academic organizations that are fraternities or sororities, honorary fraternities, those are actually outside of our office sphere. They usually live within a department. And so they are managed through that process. Now, they do have to maintain like a Phoenix Connect page, which is our primary platform for event submissions, all of those good things. They do have their own recruitment schedule that is, again, maintained through a separate department. And many of them are co-ed spaces so that anybody can join those organizations.
Fantastic. So it sounds like reach out to those specific departments with specific questions about those types of fraternities. We do have quite a number on campus, so be sure to express your interest. All right, our next question. When you say unrecognized organization, does that mean off campus or on campus?
Yeah, so unrecognized would be those off-campus organizations. The term is synonymous, I would say. So on campus would be the 9 chapters governed by the IFC that are recognized on campus, and that's who we have jurisdiction over.
Great. Thank you for clarifying there, Trevor. All right. Our next question is, if a student rushes and is offered a place, are they required to accept? I think this is a great question to answer for everyone.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I was just going to say, if you get extended a bid, you do not have to take it. I don't think in any organization or any council on campus.
Yes.
Yeah, just if you go through the recruitment process, that does not require you to actually accept any bid to join an organization.
Great. And another one to answer for the good of the group, is it possible to wait until fall of sophomore year to go through recruitment?
As MGC and NPHC have already said, they're allowed to recruit for both semesters. That's the same for IFC and Panhellenic Association. We are allowed to rush or recruit year-round. There's just a different process for Panhellenic specifically, but yes.
Yeah, the IFC has both fall and spring recruitment cycles. So 2 different times in the year, but first year students are not allowed to participate in fall recruitment. So to answer, yes, a sophomore can definitely, that's exactly who it's for in the fall. So yes.
Great. Always good to understand how the various timelines flow throughout the year. All right, let's see. How does Elon manage or supervise the pledge process for both on and off campus houses?
Great question. So we ask all of our chapters to submit new member education plans to our team at minimum 2 weeks in advance so that we're able to review and confirm information and assist them if there's anything that seems with any discrepancies that we might see to help them work through so we have enough detail as possible. On top of that, we also host new member educator trainings. We are pretty involved with the new member education process in the sense of showing up to new member education meetings specifically for NPHC and MGC, but we also have those trainings for our new member educators. And then we have a lot of high touch points during the process where new members are invited to various activities and us being present in those things. For the off-campus groups, the biggest piece right now, honestly, is that we don't monitor that because we don't have any information given to us to be able to monitor. What we will say is that we always encourage our students, if they have any information about that kind of activity taking place, is to report it and report it in full, so that we are able to manage that through the conduct process. Because per the student like conduct handbook, it essentially states that if you're engaging, affiliating, affiliating, participating with activities with our off-campus groups that could lead to a conduct sanction and concern. And so we do try to encourage our students to be as forthcoming about that information as possible, knowing that that is part of their sphere of influence, their social experience, and recognizing that we just don't have those details in our office because we don't maintain that information at this time.
Great to know. Thank you for sharing that. All right. How about what percentage of students do not get a bid? And for those that do not, what support services are available?
This is a good question. So I think it's not that it's difficult to respond to, but each council is very different in how this process looks, right? And so for Panhellenic, we would share that as long as a student is maximizing their opportunities to join any of our organizations, they are most likely going to receive a bid. But when they begin to not maximize, meaning if they were offered 2 opportunities to visit 2 different chapters, and at the end they only preferenced one and not like ranked both, whatever that may be, and this is getting into the very nitty-gritty of Panhellenic right now, then they are not maximizing their opportunity, limiting their chances of receiving a bid. A lot of time for our National Panhellenic Council and our Multicultural Greek Council, you'll find that they do a process of observing, interviews, applications. And so typically through that process, students are able to know pretty early on if they're going to be able to join at the semester that they're doing intake or new member education of some sort. And with that communication with those organizations. Our Interfraternity Council at this time is sitting at a 60% offer rate for bids. And so that's just where we're sitting at right now with them. But they are working towards and having larger discussions of how to have larger new member classes and trying to be able to support that. The larger piece of it, though, is our community is very large and our spaces and facilities on campus cannot always maintain those numbers, right? And so being able to ensure that chapters are not growing too large so that they can still function appropriately and support the meaning of their organization at the end of the day is something that we try to focus on with our groups. But when we think about support, we do reach out to the people who do not receive bids to ask if they would like to get connected with our office to find ways to get engaged on campus outside of a fraternity or sorority. We have them meet with, if they're interested, a student involvement ambassador, which is a student worker in our office, who will go through all the 200+ organizations we have here on Elon's campus and try to figure out what are other ways to build community that's not just our fraternity and sorority life community.
And those student involvement ambassadors are a fantastic resource for everything on campus. So if your students are just wanting some more support and getting involved, definitely reach out to them as well. They are there to help. All right. Another maybe nuanced question. The social parties don't seem to occur in the Loy housing. The students seem to walk to off-campus fraternity houses. Can you just speak to the rules of the social scene and how that on-campus, off-campus system kind of works?
Yeah, so technically the rules are if they're going to host events with alcohol, they have to host it at like a venue where it's not a private residence. So our organizations are allowed to do that depending on the type of organization, what their insurance covers. There's again some nuanced layers to that. When we do that, there is some rules around having security available, all of those things. When we think about the social events that are possibly occurring off campus, what is occurring essentially is private resident events where students are gathering and that's taking place. If a conduct report comes in that a X organization is hosting a social gathering off campus at a private residence and it's a specific organization being named, they do go through a conduct process. There is, I would say, like an interview process investigation to see the validity of the information and trying to make sure that we're holding our students accountable because technically per our student handbook that should not be taking place as like organizations. Individuals obviously can do what they want to off campus, but as organizations that should only be happening at venues where there is alcohol law allowed, no private residence, those things like that.
Absolutely makes sense. All right. Our next question is, what exactly is the IFC recruiting process like? I'm very familiar with the sorority recruitment process, but less clear about how fraternities work. Can we clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, so I can speak about that a little bit. We'll have an orientation where each chapter president will speak and kind of give a spiel about their chapter. And the IFC president will also speak, kind of just give an overview. So we'll have the orientation, and then there's an open house day where each person going through the process has to go to each chapter house. So everyone will meet everyone. And then there's an additional open house day where students going through the recruitment process can choose which house they go to. And these events that occur during the week, because it will be during school, often happen at night to try and avoid any uh, challenges with class schedules. So you'll have the open house day, and then there's 2 brotherhood days, which are invite only. So each chapter will choose which students to invite back, and then there will be the bid day when everyone finds out. So that's a bit about the process. If I missed anything, feel free to step in.
That is very helpful clarification. And yes, if there are any other follow-up questions about that, please do add them to the Q&A. Similarly, during Panhellenic recruitment, what are the themes of the 4 days? How many houses do girls visit every day? What is the maximum number of houses they can be invited to?
Yeah, so there's 4 days now. So the first day is belonging, the second day is philanthropy, the third day is sisterhood, and the fourth day is preference day. On the first day, you will visit all 10 chapters to get to know every single one of them. And then on the second day, you can get up to 8 chapters back. This does not necessarily mean you will get 8 chapters back. You can only get up to that. And then the next day you can get up to 5 chapters back. Basically, your student is going to rank their top 8, top 5, and then for preference day, they're going to rank their top 2. Um, and then you can get up, or they're going to rank their top 3, and then you can get up to 2 chapters back on preference day. Um, yeah, you can get up to 2 chapters back on preference day. And yeah, that's just so your student will go through the process of like weaning down where they really want to be, and what their preferences are. And then they'll be asked back to the chapters that also liked them and thought they would be a good fit. And this is very trust the process sort of program, because other people in those chapters and in those the sisters that you talk to throughout recruitment may think that you would fit into a different chapter better. So um, it's definitely a process. But yes, that's what each of the days look like.
Definitely a trust the process kind of recruitment process. All right. Will, you mentioned discretion. Can you explain a little bit more about this?
And I know Willa stepped away, so Edgar, I don't know if you would be able to answer this one.
Yeah, so discretion. Since each well, at least for MGC, each organization has their own intake process. We all have different ways we go about it, but essentially is each mem or potential new member will contact the chapter, will go through the process, on kind of discreetly, because that is kind of the point of the new member presentation, where the new members are revealed. It's supposed to be an exciting day for the new members to be revealed, be excited, be, oh, well, wonder who they are, wonder who will be revealed. But that's kind of the point of discretion. I know Panhellenic and IFC are more open and like free to like post and everything, but MGC and MPHC just kind of keep it under wraps and discreet just to build excitement for the end. Yep.
I do want to clarify just so, because I know that sounds very secretive. We as an office do receive the names of the students who are offered opportunities to go through this process. We meet with them, and we have high, again, touch points with them. It's just their process isn't as publicly recognized on like a Phoenix Connect page where you know exactly like other people outside of our office can see like where they're hosting their meetings or what days they're hosting it, all of that. Like our team has that information, but they utilize the new member presentation as a way of being celebratory for the students that are joining and being able to announce them publicly, in a like a surprise manner, I guess you can say. But typically the students are engaging in those conversations with us, so we do know who the students are who are participating in that.
Great. Thank you both for clarifying that. All right. Well, we know a lot of our students participate in J-term international trips. Does the recruitment process begin after J-term travelers are back on campus? What does that look like?
It is very rare for a freshman to go abroad during their J term. So a majority of our recruiters don't actually have this problem. However, if you are a sophomore and you go abroad, you would have to weigh that because some of the programs do not come back until mid-fake break. A lot of them do come back right before, and we accept anyone that would be back for all of the days during recruitment. But you do have to be back for that Friday for day zero orientation. If you're not, you would have to look at other options if you still wanted to recruit through Panhellenic. It would be, you would have to look into the spring semester or the fall or even waiting again. But yes, you have to be there for all of the days during recruitment. And if your international trip goes a little over, then you would have to decide which one you would rather do.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think we will throw it right back to you for what is the percentage of girls in sorority housing, like in that Loy neighborhood versus regular campus housing? Can you talk about that a little bit?
A majority of students in the Panhellenic Association actually live not in the Loy housing. Because our member classes are so big, there are about 50 to 60 people every year. For each sorority, there's only about 12, or I think about 10 to 13 people that can live in every single one of our houses in the Loy neighborhood, which means only about a fifth of the people in your member class are actually living in that house. For Panhellenic specifically, you are only allowed to be a sophomore. So if you recruit as a sophomore, you are not allowed to live in that house. You can only live in the house if you are a sophomore. So you will get your bid, and then you will apply about 2 to 3 weeks later, and you'll send in why you want to live in the house and why it's important for you. And then you will have their executive board of your chapter choose who gets to live in that house. And it is only about 10 to 13 people per chapter. So it's not a big part of them. I know a lot of chapters, once you get older, obviously they're going to start living together, and they find other places where they can live together, but it's not in the Loy neighborhood.
Thank you for spending some time outlining that. Yes, our Loy neighborhood are smaller houses, so not as many folks get to live in those houses. Some clarification on the terms on campus versus off campus, as opposed to recognized versus unrecognized. So the question is, even the on-campus fraternities seem to have physical houses off campus where they socialize. Can you kind of outline the difference on campus versus off campus, and then recognized versus unrecognized?
Yeah, I can totally clarify that. So, and I'm going to share my screen because I know that there was a upcoming question about, can you please reshare what groups are technically unrecognized? So when we say off-campus unrecognized, I will say our students are utilizing those like as the same word in many ways. Essentially, what we're saying is that these two organizations that are on my screen right now are not approved or do not have any oversight by the institution. Now, because our Loy homes cannot fit all of our fraternity members or sorority members in them to live there, like some institutions probably could fit majority of their chapters, they do have off-campus homes because we only require first years and second years or first freshmen or sophomores to live on campus. And so they have no choice but to live in an apartment complex, house in the neighboring area, all of those things. And so, yes, we do have approved organizations, recognized organizations that were mentioned earlier that do have homes in the Elon community. But these two organizations that are being shared on my screen right now are the two who are not recognized by the institution and do not have any oversight by the institution at this time. And our students will utilize, again, off-campus organization as unrecognized. They'll use those words very similarly. So.
Great. Appreciate the clarification there. Next question would be, is there a list of houses in the Loy neighborhood? I don't even know the answer to this question. Is there?
Yes and no. So we essentially on our website have a Lloyd neighborhood tab that goes over what is Lloyd neighborhood. It is managed by Residence Life. What I will say is all of our Interfraternity Council and Panhellenic Council organizations have a home, but two of our Interfraternity Council organizations at this time. And so those organizations is Kappa Alpha Order and then Kappa Sigma. Those are the two who do not currently have homes, but that may shift and change next school year depending on chapter needs and all of those things. But if you're looking at what Panhellenic organizations we have and what Interfraternity Council organizations we have, all but those two IFC groups that I just mentioned all have homes on campus.
Awesome. All right, we have a few similar questions, and I think that this will be answered by Sarah. What do girls wear for each round of recruitment? How do they know what to wear? Are there guidelines? Can you speak to that, Sarah?
So, the recruitment counselors that I was talking about earlier, they're called Pai Kais, and those are the people that guide your student through recruitment. And they will have multiple meetings before recruitment actually starts to first off get to know their Pai Kais and the girls that they're going to be going through recruitment with as the group. But they also will be giving you things that you should talk about, things that you shouldn't talk about, pointers on that. And then they will be giving you a presentation of kind of like a mood board of what you should be wearing every day. Basically, it goes from least formal to formal. So on the first day or day 0, you can wear sweatpants. It's just an orientation speaker. It's very informal. It's very comfy. The second day is a little more formal, like jeans, maybe a skirt, but then it keeps getting more and more formal until you get to preference day. And on pref, then they typically people wear dresses, pantsuits, skirts, anything along those lines. That's going to be your most formal day. And then bid day is just typically you wear jeans because you don't know where you're going. So it was basically, yeah. So there will be your student will get a mood board though that will tell them exactly what they should wear every day. If yeah.
I think they also wear jeans because they run down the hill. It's one of the traditions for Panhellenic is running down the hill. And I personally would not want to be in a dress for that. But to each their own, you can wear whatever you'd like. All right, back to the Loy neighborhood. Quick question about that. For the chapter houses in Loy, is there an adult that lives in the houses along with the members, like a dorm parent type situation, who kind of provides oversight for that?
Absolutely. So Residence Life hires what we call housing managers or house managers. They are student leaders similar to a resident assistant or RA is another way you may have heard this word. And they do have oversight of the chapter. The chapter does identify people to apply for that position. It is a paid position with a small stipend. And they have expectations around programming, around holding their chapter accountable by reporting things, having inspections on a regular basis. all of those things. They function very heavily like a resident advisor, but I think due to the nature of our organizations already having community building taking place, there's less expectation on them building community through like collaborative programming per se, and just making sure that the members are doing what they're supposed to policy wise, being held accountable, all of those things, and being in making sure it's an environment where all the chapter members can come visit if they needed to. So
Great. All right, we'll take a few more questions before wrapping up here. We have a couple more minutes. What is the percentage of freshmen versus sophomores rushing fraternities?
I would say, especially in the spring, it's mostly freshmen, as sophomores do have the opportunity to rush in the fall or go through the recruitment process in the fall if they do not their freshman spring semester. But it does still happen. And one of my best friends actually decided to go through the recruitment process his sophomore spring. So they're all welcome to, as long as just a first year can't in the fall of their first semester. That's about it.
All right, and this question is, are there open bid offers outside of Panhellenic formal recruitment?
There is another process that we do that is not formal recruitment, and it's called continuous open bidding. It's a very complicated process, so I'm going to try and like simplify it. But basically, there's a quota set at the end of formal recruitment, which gets the numbers in for every chapter and sees how many people they gave extended a bid to, just so that all of our chapters can stay about the same size. So that quota is set, and if your chapter is above that quota, you are not eligible to participate in continuous open bidding. If your chapter is below that quota, you are able to get up to that specific number that they set the quota at. So you are able to kind of reach out to girls that you talk to maybe during recruitment, and somewhere along the line, or the chapter is able to reach out and say, hey, we actually liked you. I don't know where you got confused during formal recruitment, but they can reach out to them and extend them a bid during the spring or during the fall, at any point if they're under that quota, until they get up to that quota. And all you have to do is have our minimum GPA and be in good standing with the university. But that is not a sure deal. So if you are dead set on one specific chapter, which is not a smart way to go through the process, but just know that not every single chapter is going to be able to do those continuous open biddings in the spring and in the fall. So it is definitely, if you want to go through the formal recruitment, you should encourage your student to go through formal recruitment so that they can meet every single chapter and not just be set on one specific one, because that will not most likely work out. But yes.
Yeah, want to meet all of the chapters represented on campus. All right. Well, this one might go back to Trevor. I think our Panhellenic outfit discussion inspired this question. Do guys need to wear suits for their recruiting process? Edgar, you can weigh in on this as well.
So for the IFC, I don't believe it's required. I will say most students do wear suits. It doesn't necessarily have to be very super formal, but I will say most students have at least like a sport jacket. But there's not like a technical required dress code. It's whatever you prefer.
Yeah, similarly for MGC, well, there's only one frat on the MGC council right now, which is mine, and we don't require any suits for that. So yeah.
Good to keep in mind. And we'll take one last question. How do students find out about scholarship opportunities?
This is a good question. So a lot of the times the individual organizations would have those opportunities either on their websites, the chapter itself locally will be able to provide more details. and be able to manage and maintain that like application process internally. So again, I think the biggest piece is once you decide you want to join an organization, being able to work with that organization to see what financial resources are available from the national and the local level is important for the chat, like for the new member to just be proactive in that conversation, because there is sometimes additional funding that's available through either like alumni resources or whatever that may be available from a local level too.
Great. It's great to keep in mind as these processes get started. Well, one final request would be to reshare that last slide that you had with contact information. We'll get that shared just so that everyone has it. And thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to join this webinar. And if you do have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to our student involvement office at this contact information. Again, my name is Robin Lane Jimenez, and I'm the Assistant Director of Parent Engagement here. You're always welcome to reach out to the Office of Parent Engagement as well with any remaining questions you might have. And thank you all so much again for taking time out of your day to participate in this webinar. We really appreciate both the staff and student perspectives. So thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.